Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back. It's December 11th. It's 10:57 p.m. Eastern Time, and we don't have any Q posts today, but boy, do we ever have a huge news day to go over, and that is exactly what we're going to do. I've got some people to thank, but I'm going to do that at the end of the show. And I'm going to, let's just skip over here. Now, because I didn't do a show yesterday, I do have some things that I want to go over from yesterday that's still pertinent. But of course, the news of the day is this. The House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday night, well, Wednesday afternoon really, began the first phase of a fiery markup process for the 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump that they have settled on, barreling toward a final vote, a final floor vote, even as moderate Democrats have floated the idea of backing down in favor of a censure resolution. However, as we now know, the House is moving forward with plans to formalize impeachment charges against President Trump. So they are moving forward with that. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we can look forward to, and actually I do mean that, look forward to. It's a waste of taxpayer money, certainly, but this whole charade has been a waste of taxpayer money, and they have forced this. So it will go to trial in the Senate, and that's expected in January. So what will happen there? Well, they can impeach him in the House, absolutely, and they will. They will. They have even if 16 people on the Democrat side decided, no, we don't think that we should go forward with this, then they would still have enough to impeach him. So even if there were 16, and I don't think there are, I mean, I really think it would be a stretch to say there might be 16, but that are against it, it'll still go through. So I have no doubt that he will be impeached. However, remember, Bill Clinton was impeached in the House and was not impeached in the Senate. Why was that? Because of the same kind of setup that we have now in reverse. We have more Democrats in the House and we have more Republicans in the Senate. And from what I saw today, and I did watch all this in its entirety for you, also for me, because I wanted to know, but more than that, I wanted to be able to pass on, because I know that some of you are not able to sit down and watch the whole thing, nor do you have the stamina to do that, because let me tell you, it's not easy, because it just made me enraged, absolutely enraged. And I'm the kind of person that I never get upset really, but when I do, it's like, and then it's gone. I forget about it. Somebody says, well, you were mad at it, and I'll go, what? No, I'm not mad at that. That's me. And so I'm watching this and I'm feeling, this anger rising and rising and rising and rising and rising. And, there's no way, there's nobody to yell at. I could yell at my computer screen, but that's not going to do any good. And I mean, talking with a Democrat is like talking to a brick wall. They've had their mind made up from the time that Trump first took office. So it's already been made up. It's already, they've meant to do this. They've done this knowing full well that what they were doing was not legal, not proper, not moral, not ethical, but they did it. So this is where we're at. And it'll get struck down in the Senate. And you know what? It's going to make the Democrats look even worse than they do now. And really, they have just cemented Donald Trump's win in 2020, as far as I'm concerned. I really, did you see the crowds in Hershey, Pennsylvania? Of course, the mainstream media is not going to show any of that. Humongous crowds, humongous. Do they care that, Donald Trump is going to be impeached? No, none of us that actually support Trump care, because we can see through the charade, however you want to say it. So anyway, we're going to be discussing that a little bit later, and I do want to get to a couple things before we get to that, but it is important. Also of note to any of you guys that are into this, there is a full moon tonight. It starts, well, it's actually, the full moon is on December 12th, but guess when the moon will hit its fullness? And I have a friend that always say, look, it's crowding a full moon out there. I had never heard that saying before, but now I've picked it up. When the moon isn't quite full, you can say, yeah, it's crowding a full moon, isn't it? And people will look at you like there's something wrong with you. And there might be. But anyway, so yes, the moon is going to be at its peak fullness at 12, 12, 12. So at 12 o'clock midnight, 12 minutes after midnight, and 12 seconds. 12, what is that? 12, 12, 12, 12. Anyway, it works out to be 12, 12, 12. So, yeah. And I found that very, very strange, to tell you the truth. Okay, I'm not into all this gematria stuff. I know that many people are, and I know that there is something to it. There's no question about that. And I know that certain groups follow that religiously, and that is okay. But yeah, I'm not into all that, but I did find it a little odd. So anyway, the moon and that, and I want to mention this. This is my channel on BitChute. If anything happens to me here, I will be there. I am now, it's been difficult for me to get everything pulled over into BitChute. I tried it did everything they said, but it's not working. So I've had to upload today by hand the videos that are up there. And certainly I will be keeping track of all my newer videos will be posted on YouTube and on BitChute, just in case. So if you're looking for me, that's where I am. Now, people have said that they are not able to find me on BitChute. I'm there, I promise. And my channel is Deception Bites, all one word, and there's all lowercase letters. So Deception Bites. So that is where I am. I want everybody to know that, because I know that with what is happening on YouTube, one never knows. I could be here today and gone tomorrow. But please note, I will never be really gone. I won't. I will be over at BitChute or whatever. If you guys know of other platforms that you like, that you think that I should be on, then let me know, because I'm very open to suggestion. Very. So, all right, let's get into this. Ryan Saavedra, a statement from Fox News spokesperson James Comey was not booked and was never confirmed to appear on Fox and Friends. This is interesting because James Comey claimed that he was. He said, FYI, I offered to go on Fox and Friends to answer all questions. I can't change their viewers on Donald Trump, but hope to give them some actual facts about the FBI. They booked me for tomorrow at 8 a.m. They just canceled. Must have read the report. Now, that's an odd thing for him to say, because he was not booked and was never confirmed to appear on Fox and Friends. So he just outright lied, which he's good at. Very good at, apparently. So I don't know why he would do that. I don't know what he thought he'd gain from that. And I don't know why he thought nobody would call him out on that. Because they did. I feel like I'm way down here because I've got the lighting in a different place. And so when I look up, I feel like y'all are looking down on me, man. Don't look down on me, man. Don't tase me, bro. All right. Let's go on now. Yes. Now, Shifty Schiff sets up 2020 election as illegitimate unless Trump is impeached. So apparently he's saying that, you know, if it goes to the Senate, which it will, and if the Senate decides not to impeach, which they will, then the 2020 election is already illegitimate. See how they're always trying to cover their bases ahead of themselves? So that will be the next thing. When he is not impeached in the Senate, which he won't be, then that's what they're going to say. Well, we need to call off the elections because they're illegitimate now. We can't have elections. It's not fair. Trump is, cheating in the elections. The Russians are helping him. The Ukrainians are helping him. Little green Martians are helping him. Somebody's helping him. I don't know what these people think. I don't want to know what they think. House Intelligence Committee Chair and Chief House Partisan Hack, Shifty Adam Schiff, knows two things. One, the Senate will never vote to impeach the president on such flimsy charges. And two, Trump is going to win in 2020. Those two are a given. So the next best thing is to try and set up the next election as illegitimate so that the party faithful know that, once again, Trump is stealing the election from them. Oh no, Trump won again. That's what it'll be. I don't know, I need therapy now because Trump won. I think that I should sue and he should have to pay for my therapy. They go on and on and on, these little snowflakes that are offended by everything. All right. So that's what they're going to do. Heads up. And that is exactly what Shifty Schiff just did. The argument, why don't you just wait, amounts to this. Why don't you just let him cheat in one more election? Why not let him cheat just one more time? Why not let him have foreign help just one more time? By the way, he never had foreign help, and that's been proven. But that doesn't matter to Adam Schiff. Of course not. That is what the argument amounts to. The president's misconduct goes to the heart of whether we can conduct a free and fair election in 2020. Shifty Schiff said. Yeah. It's bad enough for a candidate to invite foreign interference in our political process. It is far more corrosive for a president to do so and to abuse his power to make it so. Despite everything we have uncovered, the president's misconduct continues to this day, unapologetically, and right now, he added. This from the guy that was friends with Ed Buck, that yeah, he knows all about, stuff. What happened at the Standard Hotel, Shifty Schiff? When are we going to find that out? When is he going to be held accountable for that? All right. And as we saw when he stood on the White House lawn and he was asked, what did you want in that July 25th call? And he said the answer was a simple one, and not just a simple one on July 25th, but a simple one today, and that he still wants Ukraine to interfere in our election to help his campaign. That's not what he said, not even close to what he said. In fact, it's the complete opposite of what he said. Even this week, the president's lawyer was back in Ukraine seeking to review the same debunked conspiracy theory promoted at the president's behest. Yes, Giuliani was in the Ukraine looking into the corruption of Hunter Biden and so forth. These are things that do need to be looked into. It has nothing to do with the fact that Biden is running for president. That is the biggest joke there ever was. He can't even draw not even 1/1000th of the crowd that Donald Trump can. And everybody knows he's a crook. So yeah, I don't think Donald Trump loses any sleep about beating Biden. Really. I don't think he loses any sleep about beating Hillary either, should she step in. I'd love to see that. I would, because you imagine the debate? The debates be interesting. Okay, Schiff then stupidly invoked the founder, specifically Benjamin Franklin, which gets to the final and most defiant and pernicious of the arguments that we have heard in the president's defense, that the president can do whatever he wants under Article 2, including get foreigners involved in our elections, and we should just, to quote the president's chief of staff, get over it. Ben Franklin said we have a republic if we can keep it. Now, here's the thing with Schiff. I don't understand why this guy can get news coverage. Well, I do understand how he can get news coverage. Absolutely. But what I don't understand is that he can just lie, and nothing ever gets done. I don't understand. All right. So, The president and his men say you can't keep it, and Americans should just get over it. Americans don't get to decide American elections anymore, not by themselves, not without foreign help. For the members of Congress, this is not a question of fact because the facts are not seriously contested. It is rather a question of duty. The articles put forward today will give a chance to show that we will defend the Constitution and that our oath means something to us. Yeah, right. Yeah, your oath means nothing. Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to Adam Schiff. I think that, and you know something, I am the most nonviolent person there is, but I don't know if I would be able to hold it together if I was in the same room as Schiff. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't set out to hurt him or whatever, but I don't know if I could hold it together. I just don't. So anyway, it's a good thing that I'm not. And I like this. We heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend that you didn't use your blinker. So we'll need to impound this car. Yeah, isn't that exactly? That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend that you didn't use your blinker. Yeah. All right, let's go on now. Schiff is a piece of work. Didn't even show up. Where was he today? All right, let's go back now. I'm getting all wound up, and I shouldn't. All right, now let's look at this Q proof. And it says proofs are important. And this is a Q post from May 23rd, 2019. And it says, he's quoting an anon from the same day who said Carter Page anon. And Q responded by saying Carter Page, public, FISA, remainder are still under classification until today. Waterfall of proofs coming post D-class. Q. And that's where we are right now. And of course, we've found out everything we need to know about Carter Page today. You know, well, not just today, over the last several days that, yeah, he had contact with Russia because he was a CIA asset and was asked to. So just this whole thing is absolutely ludicrous. All right, now let's come down here. AG Barr brings clarity. And if there's one thing we need, it's clarity. So let's listen to him. And let me turn this up. Hang on here. This is 3 minutes and 17 seconds. It's a little bit on the long side, but it's important. So I am going to play it in its entirety. Let's listen.
Mr. Attorney General.
All right, sorry, I was trying to get it.
Why do you say that the FBI opened the investigation of the Trump campaign on the thinnest of suspicions?
Well, I'm glad to get into the issue of predication, but let me just start out by saying that I think you have to put this in context. I think the heart of the IG's report really focused on how the investigation was conducted once it got going, and that is especially the very serious abuses of FISA that occurred, much of which has been, in my view, not accurately reported by the press over the last day. But in one area, I do disagree with the IG, and that was whether there was sufficient predication to open a full-blown counterintelligence investigation, specifically using the techniques that they did to collect intelligence about the Trump campaign.
Well, as a policy matter, why not open an investigation on a thin pretext? I guess on the one hand, you could say it's a presidential campaign. It's very sensitive. You need better evidence. On the other hand, you could say it's a presidential campaign. We have to be very careful. There could be a threat to our political process.
Well, I think probably from a civil liberties standpoint, the greatest danger to our free system is that the incumbent government use the apparatus of the state, principally the law enforcement agencies and the intelligence agencies, both to spy on political opponents, but also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time in history that this has been done to a presidential campaign, the use of these counterintelligence techniques against a presidential campaign. And we have to remember that in today's world, presidential campaigns are frequently in contact with foreign persons. And indeed, in most campaigns, there are signs of illegal foreign money coming in. And we don't automatically assume that the campaigns are nefarious and traitors and acting in league with foreign powers. There has to be some basis before we use these very potent powers in our core First Amendment activity. And here, I felt this was very flimsy. Basically, I think the department has a rule of reason, which is at the end of the day, is what you're relying on sufficiently powerful to justify the techniques you're using? And the question there is, how strong is the evidence? How sensitive is the activity you're looking at? And what are the alternatives? And I think when you step back here and say, what was this all based on? It's not sufficient. Remember, there was and never has been any evidence of collusion. And yet this campaign and the president's administration has been dominated by this investigation into what turns out to be completely baseless.
Well, of course, it doesn't turn out that.
Yeah. I have a great deal of respect for Bill Barr, no matter what the Democrats are saying right now. Yeah, so let's go back here. And let's look at this. Greg Flippin. So Pelosi throws her constituents a bone USMCA that was made by Donald Trump and called it her own creation. Is there no shame at all in the entire NWO Marxist Party? No, there's no shame at all. And that's exactly what she did, because she can't give President Trump any credit whatsoever. She got up there and she said, yeah, we passed this, and, after whatever, she said they had made changes to it, and it was a far better one than what Trump had. I don't know. I really wasn't listening to her that closely to be able to give it to you word for word, but basically she was taking the credit away from Donald Trump and claiming it for herself. And has she no shame? No, she is shame. She is shame personified. All right, now let's get into this. Yes, this is very, very interesting. Was Q teaching us how the deep state cloaks their name from certain documents to possibly get around freedom of information requests? Yes, that's what they have been doing, and there's proof of it. See, through all that report that just came out, the IG report, they have Comey spelled C-O-R-N-E-Y. Do you think nobody caught that? Really? Because that's not possible. It's not possible. So, and look what else has been found. After the Corny discover, anons have now found Podesta, Proclesta. So in the documents it says Proclesta. So if anyone asks for a Freedom of Information Act and on Podesta, they can say, no, we don't have anything on Podesta. And Obarna. So how do you like that? That's exactly what they're doing. I know you're not going to be able to read this, so there's just no sense in me going through this, but I have looked in the documents, and that is indeed what they're doing, because there's no other excuse for it. None. And why is it only with names that they're making spelling errors? Yeah, and when that is the only thing in the document, if you misspell Comey one time in the document, corny, which is interesting, despite the corn ready to be cut. That's exactly what I think they were talking about. I do. I think that was, you know, the Trump administration's way of making fun of what they did here. Trump knew. Yeah, corn ready for to be cut. Yep, they all knew. They were trying to avoid Freedom of Information Acts. Isn't that something? They are pieces of work, aren't they? Yes, they are. All right. Now, let's look at this. Inspector General rocked, IG told to falsify documents, fabricate evidence after witness testimony in rigged investigation. An affidavit from a high-ranking U.S. Inspector General paints a disturbing picture of a government watchdog rife with shocking practices, alleged tampering of evidence, falsification of witness testimony, and incredibly steering sensitive investigations to fit a pre-concluded narrative. Translation: rigged IG investigations. If you believe the conclusions of the Inspector General report of the Justice Department's and FBI's meddling and spying in the 2016 presidential election that was unveiled Monday, you may want to reserve judgment. The recent affidavit from former Assistant Inspector General John Crane portrays a rare behind-the-curtain view of the Inspector General's mysterious operation. A high-ranking government insider provided the affidavit to True Pundit, who contacted Crane, a decorated Inspector General who last served as IG for the Department of Defense. Crane did not give an interview to True Pundit about the scathing testimony in his affidavit that calls the IG's office a bed of corruption and instructed him to cover up a bed of corruption that instructed him to cover up vital counterterrorism intel to spare government officials embarrassment and likely career-ending disasters. Specifically, Crane maintained that the DoD insiders identified lead 9/11 hijacker Mohammed Atta prior to the terror attacks of September 2001 and reported the intel to supervisors. Crane said he was instructed by IG chiefs to bury that information and alter the IG reports to say the Defense Intelligence Agency did not identify Atta before the terrorist attacks. DIA intel identified Atta as a key terror target and Al-Qaeda chief operating DIA intel identified Atta as a key terror target and Al-Qaeda chief operating out of New York a year before September 11th, 2001. Notably, the CIA and FBI have been accused of sitting on that intelligence and failing to set up on Atta and add him to crucial government intel watch lists to monitor his travel and activities and associates. Crane turned whistleblower in the affidavit. This is not well written. They're leaving out stuff. Among other documents detailing the shocking IG revelations, has reached the top level of the Trump administration. According to intel sources who spoke with True Pundit, Crane's allegations of widespread corruption were provided to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, CIA Director Gina Haspel, top-ranking brass at the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the White House. It's hard to say whether it reached President Trump. One intel insider said, "We provided it to John Kelly, but it might not have reached the president." Kelly is the retired U.S. Marine Corps general who served as the White House Chief of Staff for President Trump from July 31st, 2017 to January 2nd, 2019. Crane, who has been removed from his government watchdog post, is awaiting official whistleblower protection, insiders said. If and when Crane is protected, he will provide further details and go public. Insiders said, "This is what happens to real whistleblowers," one former senior uniformed military insider said. They sit and wait to be protected while their allegations move through the bureaucracy. They don't get instant protection like Congressman Adam Schiff's friends. Crane's details of the disturbing IG cover-up are particularly damning. Crane served as Assistant Inspector General for a decade and was lead investigator on many of the watchdogs' post 9/11 probes, including the Atta investigation. Quoting Crane's allegations outlined in the complaint verbatim, investigate misconducts in terms of the methodology of the investigation, investigate misconduct in the manipulation of the evidence to include testimony, investigative misconduct in application of investigative standards, investigative conduct to reach a predetermined conclusion, investigative conduct to protect senior officials in the Department of Defense from criticism in the identification of Mohammed Atta before 9/11. The shocking allegations filed by Crane detail statements of one IG investigator who confirmed during a staff meeting prior to interviewing government witnesses, tell me what you want them to say and I will make them say it. Wow. Crane said in this affidavit, the goal of investigators was to change the testimony of witness to agree with a prearranged narrative and conclusion of the investigation. In this case, that rigged narrative was to absolve government officials of any responsibility or knowledge of being notified of terrorist Atta long before he led the vicious attacks on the World Trade Centers in New York City. Government officials did nothing, and they want to keep that hidden from the public, Crane alleges. Keep these disturbing revelations in mind while digesting yesterday's IG report. It would seem the IG, is all part of a rigged show, and you are the confused and irate audience. Thomas Paine. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Now, I'm going to have to all right. Let's look at this first. Well, no, I need to move on here because I want to get to today's. So I might leave a couple of these. I can't remember what this is, but there's only one way to find out. Oh, yes, this is very important. I'm sorry, guys. My neck, that's why I keep going like this, because my neck is killing me and I'm having to look up. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to change where the thing is because I feel like, you know, you're way up there and I'm way down here. All right. Horowitz on altered email for FISA application. This is awesome. It's 2 minutes and 1 second and it's worth every second.
Let me read on page 256 of the OIG report, the final paragraph. Consistent with the Inspector General Act of 1978 and following OIG's discovery that the OGC attorney had altered the email that he sent to the supervising agent, who thereafter relied on it to swear out the final FISA application. So the men and women at home need to know what's happening. A lawyer at the FBI creates fraudulent evidence, alters an email, that is in turn used as the basis for a sworn statement to the court that the court relies on. Am I stating that accurately?
That's correct. That is what occurred.
Now, you have worked in law enforcement a long time. Is the pattern of a Department of Justice employee altering evidence and submitting fraudulent evidence that ultimately gets submitted to a court, is that commonplace? Is that typical?
I have not seen an alteration of an email end up impacting a court document like this.
In any ordinary circumstance, if a private citizen did this, fabricated evidence, and by the way, what he inserted was not just slightly wrong, it was 180 degrees opposite what the evidence said. So the intelligence agency said this guy is a source, and he inserted this guy is not a source. If a private citizen did that in any law enforcement investigation, if they fabricated evidence and reversed what it said, In your experience, would that private citizen be prosecuted for fabricating evidence, be prosecuted for obstruction of justice, be prosecuted for perjury?
They certainly would be considered for that if there was an intentional effort to deceive the court. On this one, I'm going to defer because, as we noted here in the sentence you indicated, we referred that over to the Attorney General and the FBI Director for handling.
Third,
now, isn't that music to your ears? We referred that over to the Attorney General for handling. And he admits it. I mean, Horowitz admits it. Very interesting. Very. And Ted Cruz was on fire there. I mean, sizzling. All right, let's take down some of these. And let's get back. Let me see what this says. Yeah, okay, so IG Horowitz admits that the warrant to spy on Donald Trump campaign was based entirely on information from the debunked Steele dossier. Not like how he puts boom shakalaka. Yeah, I would agree. Let's listen.
For example, the Crossfire Hurricane team obtained information from Steele's primary subsource in January 2017 that raised significant questions about the reliability of the Steele reporting. This was particularly noteworthy because the FISA applications relied entirely on information from the primary subsource's reporting to support the allegation that Page was coordinating with the Russian government on 2016 U.S. presidential election activities. However, the FBI did not share this information with department lawyers, and it was therefore omitted from the last two renewal applications. All of the applications also omitted information that the FBI had obtained in August 2017. For example, the Crossfire Hurricane team obtained information.
Sorry, we're starting over here. Okay. So, yeah, he admits that the warrant to spy on Donald Trump campaign was based entirely on information from the debunked Steele dossier. That is significant. Not that, I mean, we already knew that, but to hear him say that, that's significant. All right, let's go back. No, really, let's. Yeah, these people are stupid. You can say that again. Now, this will be, I'd like to say interesting. Interesting in a, I don't know, kind of interesting in a train wreck sort of way. You know, like, you know how everybody, there's an accident on the road and everybody rubbernecks to look, and then there's more accidents. Well, this is kind of like, you know, slowing down to look at an accident. That's what this is. Hirono, did you find any evidence of Ukraine interference? No, but we weren't investigating that. I know, but still. Let's listen to Maisie. Maisie. Here she goes.
In all of the documents that you reviewed, 100 witnesses, did you find any evidence that contradicts FBI Director Wray's statement that the FBI has no information that indicates Ukraine tried to interfere in the 2016 election?
We didn't see any such evidence, but I emphasize that wasn't
yes, I know.
the purpose of
But you know what? You would think that you're looking through a million documents.
Fortunately, not me, but the team.
There might have been something there that referenced that maybe Ukraine was engaging in the kind of systematic interference that Russia did. In all of the documents that you reviewed,
and it's just starting over again. But I mean, and notice how she slips that in, like interfering in our election, like Russia did. They didn't interfere in our election. These people are stupid, and I don't know. Are they stupid? Are they mentally ill? Or are they crazy like a fox? Are they just what do you call that? Shrewd, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I mean, it's one of three things. They're either mentally ill, they're evil to the core, or they're really not very smart. It could be a combination of two or more. I don't know. All right, let's go back. No, let's go. Here we are. Okay. Now, you may find this hard to believe, or you may find it really interesting. I find it really interesting. Now, this is on Ready. Oh, shite. Nice bracelets team. Cyanide weekend. Keck. Now, why is he saying that? Okay. You know, and I remember this because I remember seeing close-ups of this and thinking, that doesn't look like a bullet. That's why when I saw this, it was arresting to me. And I had to take an immediate look because I was like, okay, because I knew something was up with that bracelet. It does not look like a bullet in any way, shape, or form. All right. Now, let's go to this. And let's go to the bottom one next. She's not the only one that has these bracelets, that has this bracelet. Here's another one. Does that look like a bullet to you? It's on this guy's hand. And, yeah. What's he got? Why is he wearing that? Because it looks ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. So, we're not done yet. Not done yet. Let's look at this. No, really, let's. What's this, you say? Well, now I know that this is a little small and I don't think I can make it bigger on here. I can't. I can make it bigger, but it doesn't affect here. All right. So I don't know how to make this any bigger than it is, but look at what this is. I'm telling you to look, and then I'm telling you that it's too small to see. I guess that doesn't make much sense. But, okay, this was the search. What does a cyanide container look like? Well, it looks like this. Like that. And this one was SS Germany, World War II, brass cyanide cylinder, and it has Berlin on it. But this is what a cyanide container looks like. This is another one, SS brass cyanide container. And it says suicide ampule, liquid compound. That's what they look like. So are they wearing bullets or are they wearing cyanide containers? Why would they be wearing a cyanide container? Well, I don't know. But I would think that probably someone like Pelosi would rather die than be taken to jail or prison. That's what I would think. I could be wrong. But I think it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. And you can't tell me it's not interesting. And it says, for the record, friends, my initial assumption was the actual bullet theory. Question everything. It could be either. It could be both. Only time will tell. And that's true. And this here, it says, yesterday was not the first time Nancy Pelosi has used her bullet bracelet to convey communications, October 5th. And this is a bullet in the color orange. And I told the POTUS we are not going away. Green dress, green go, signifier active. These people are beyond sick. So I don't know what it is. Could be either. But it means something because she's pointed it out twice. And yeah, people don't normally point out what they're wearing. Like, I don't make a habit of going like, oh, look, this is my medical alert bracelet, like, or yeah, and this is yeah, like, nobody does that. Nobody. Now, once in a while, if you're with a friend, or if I'm with a friend and I'm wearing something and I'll say, hey, you know, so and so gave this to me or whatever, that's a little different. But you know, to waste airtime pointing out to everyone. Nah, don't believe it. Okay, so it means something, whether it's a bullet or a cyanide capsule, I don't know. But I guess either one will kill you. So anyway, let's go back now. Let's go back. I'm in a weird mood tonight. Yes, I am. Okay. That's not where I meant to go. All right, let's look at this. Now, I think this might be what we already looked at. I think we already did this. No. No, we didn't. So this is another one. I'm telling you, he was on fire. Sizzling. All right.
Happening. A lawyer at the FBI creates fraudulent evidence, alters an email. That is in turn used as the basis for a sworn statement to the court that the court relies on. Am I stating that accurately?
That's correct.
Okay, this is
what occurred.
Now you.
Okay, I'm not going to replay this because this is actually the exact same interaction with Horowitz that we looked at, but it's just taken from a different camera angle. So I'm going to get out of there because time's precious to us. Got more to cover. Now, I said that I would be doing 2 shows tonight, and unfortunately I can't. I spent a lot of time looking at this stuff, watching that today, and please, those of you who are believers, please pray for my stepdad tomorrow. He's having surgery at 8 a.m. So as far as I know, I will be recording tomorrow, but in case I don't, it will probably be associated with that. So, but I fully intend to. So that's my plan. And we can go on now, but I really would appreciate your prayers for him because I know that some of you guys are strong believers and prayer warriors, and I would certainly appreciate that. And I know he would as well. Okay, let's go on now. We still have a little bit more time. This from Galactic Red Pill. Horowitz says he submitted the entire report to the FBI AG so they can decide about criminal referrals, which is basically his way of saying there might be many criminal referrals to come from his report. He left it up to Barr. Get your popcorn, people. And this, Jenna Ellis, this is a joke. Okay, now let me read this first because this is what she's responding to. Representative Jim Jordan, and he was hot too today. Sizzling. This afternoon at 4:45, Democrats said Republicans must submit amendments to their ridiculous impeachment articles by 7 tonight. Yeah, so that gives them 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I guess they don't get to have any supper either. They have to, can you imagine? They're telling them, oh yeah, you've got to have your amendments to this, to these 2 impeachment articles by 7 tonight, and it's 4:45. And they got to eat somewhere, sometime. If this is our most serious duty in Congress, why has every step of this process been a complete sham? We'd all like to know that. And Jenna Ellis says, this is a joke. In the real legal world, opposing parties would have at least 10 days plus requests for extensions for this kind of thing, at minimum. The Dems continue to prove they are very unserious and very non-legal, non-process about this entire sham. Well, that is the truth. And let's come down here. And Rona McDaniel said, CNN aired everything Schiff and Nader had to say. Why weren't they showing Lindsey Graham? It is because the facts, and Lindsey Graham, man, if you could have sat and listened to him really with an open mind, like no matter what side you're on, you would have had everything laid out so nicely. It was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And CNN and many of the others didn't show it. Oh, they showed the Dems, but they didn't show the Republicans. And when they did show them, they cut away. They'd cut away. So interestingly enough, that's exactly what happened. And I saw that firsthand. So Donald Trump responds and says, the news media in our country is fake and in many cases, totally corrupt. So that answers that. That's exactly what happened. They're corrupt. We know whose side they're on. They don't make any bones about it. And this live breaking news, President Trump signs executive order. Okay, well, this is kind of out of the flow of where we are now. I'm going to save this. Cut. And I'll move it down here for later. Oh my gosh, we've got lots more. I don't know. I might have to come back and do more because we haven't gotten through this. Like, wow, I got a lot of stuff here. Okay, well, that was Donald Trump. And let's listen to Gomer.
Years, we've heard for 3 years, we've heard from people that are now in the majority talk about the crimes of the president. And where are they? Well, they kept saying, Mr. President, come in, you got to testify. We will be fair with you. Come tell us about the crimes. And here's the crimes you've committed. And where are they now that we have the articles of impeachment? A vague abuse of power, obstruction of Congress, the very things the majority has done in preventing us from having the witnesses that could shed light on this, not opinion, but fact witnesses. We needed to hear from those witnesses, people like Sean Misko, Abigail Grace, Eric Chiramella, Devin Archer, Joe Biden, Ellie Orr, Alexandra Chalupa, and so many others. They don't want fact witnesses. Let's hear from professors who hate Donald Trump, who are willing to sell their education just to make a point against somebody they don't like. This is a dangerous, dangerous time in America.
And it is. And the interesting thing there is that he named the whistleblower, you know, the Carmel guy. Yeah, I thought that was like too hysterical. Too hysterical. All right, let's go back now, trying to get to as much as I can. And here's Jim Jordan. He sums it up like a boss, like the boss he is.
Congressman Green said yesterday, if the Senate doesn't convict, it will not end. This is not about Ukraine. Facts are on the president's side. Zelensky said he wasn't pressured. Ukrainians didn't even know aid was held at the time of the call.
I'm just going to interrupt this for a second. I want you guys to know this is 5 minutes long, but it is, well, he sums it up like no other. So I really think this is important. So if you can spare the 5 minutes, it's worth listening to. If not, you can jump ahead.
And most importantly, they did nothing to get the aid released. This is about one basic fact. The Democrats have never accepted the will of the American people. 3 weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi called the President of the United States an imposter, and the attacks on the President started before the election. July 31st, 2016, the FBI opened the Trump-Russia investigation and spied on 4 American citizens associated with President Trump's campaign. They took the dossier to the FISA court, and they lied to the court 17 times. Didn't tell the court the guy who wrote the dossier was desperate to stop Trump. Didn't tell the court the guy who wrote the dossier was working for the Clinton campaign. Didn't tell the court the guy who wrote the dossier had been fired by the FBI for leaking information to the press. And the FBI continued the investigation after the election. On January 3rd, 2017, Senator Schumer said this: if you mess with the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. It took all of 3 days for that statement to come true. January 6th, at Trump Tower, Jim Comey briefs President-elect Trump on the dossier. The dossier that the FBI already knew was false. They do it so that they can leak it to the press, and the press will write about the fact they briefed him. The president was told he wasn't under investigation when in fact they were investigating him and trying to trap him at that meeting. And of course, they continued their investigation after the inauguration. When we deposed Jim Comey in this committee, last Congress, he said after 10 months of the FBI's investigation, they didn't have a thing. Comey gets fired on May 9, 2017. 8 days later, Bob Mueller gets hired, and we get 2 years of the Mueller investigation. 19 lawyers, 40 agents, 500 warrants, 2,800 subpoenas, but zero collusion. The Democrats don't care about the facts, and they're never going to stop. The whistleblower's lawyer said 10 days after the president was sworn in, coup has started, impeachment to follow. 16 Democrats on this committee voted to move forward with impeachment before Bob Mueller ever sat in front of this committee and testified, before President Trump and President Zelensky ever had their call. They're never going to stop with their attacks because they can't stand the fact that President Trump is actually draining the swamp and doing what he said he would do, and most importantly, getting results. Taxes cut, regulations reduced, economy growing at an unbelievable pace, lowest unemployment in 50 years, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court, out of the Iran deal, embassy in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea, and oh, by the way, a new NAFTA agreement coming any day now. They can't stand it, and they're never going to stop. And it's not just because they don't like the president. It's not just because they don't like the president. They don't like us. They don't like the 63 million people who voted for this president.
That's right.
All of us in flyover country, all of us common folk in Ohio, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and Texas, they don't like us. How about what Mrs. Carlin said last week, sitting right there? The Democrat professor who came in here and told us what she believes. Liberals tend to cluster. Conservatives spread out because they don't even want to be around themselves. How about our colleague, Maxine Waters, June of 2018, when she said this? And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them they are not welcome anymore, anywhere. That is scary. How about Peter Strzok, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, the guy who ran the Trump-Russia investigation, the deputy head of counterintelligence who was fired when he said this, went to a Southern Virginia Walmart, I can smell the Trump support. They don't like us. That's what this is about. They don't like the president. They don't like the president's supporters. And they dislike us so much they're willing to weaponize the government. A few years ago it was the IRS. More recently it was the FBI. And now it's the impeachment power of Congress, going after 63 million people and the guy we put in the White House. Think about what Chairman Schiff did last week. He released the phone records of the president's personal lawyer. He released the phone records of a member of the press, and he released the phone records of a Republican member of Congress. This is scary stuff. This is scary stuff, what they're doing, and frankly, it is dangerous for our country. It is not healthy for our country, and we should all remember what Emmett Flood told us, the president's lawyer, what he told us this past spring when the Mueller report first came out. It would be well to remember that what can be done to a president can be done to any of us.
That's right.
This is scary stuff and serious stuff, and I hope you guys will reconsider and stop it while you can.
Absolutely incredible, and wouldn't surprise me if someday we see him running for president. It really wouldn't, and certainly that's well after Trump has had his the next 4 years. But it wouldn't surprise me because he is really good. So is Matt Gaetz. Lindsey Graham actually impressed me today as well. So let's go back here and let's okay, let's go down to just a couple more of these and then I'm gonna stop for tonight because I know I'm getting close to my time and I still have some people to thank. Donald Trump Jr., Scott Adams said, correcting this tweet after watching Horowitz testify, he made it clear he believes the 17 FBI errors are likely intentional, but it is not his job to read minds and it can't be confirmed by existing documents or testimonies. Donald Trump Jr. replied to that and said, pathetic that the standard for bias is that no one... pathetic that the standard for bias is that no one said they were biased, even if everything they said reeked of total and incontrovertible biased. That's literally the talking point the Dems are running with. Because someone didn't say the word biased, there's no proof. Insane. I agree. And this from Molly Hemingway says, can't get over how IG report showed the DOJ, FBI knew the dossier was complete bunk by January 2017, and yet they kept suggesting otherwise until, well, yesterday, to continue to seek spy warrants to launch a special counsel to leak, etc. All these things are so very scandalous. Oh, I think we all agree with that. And this from Mark Meadows, because it says this from The Hill, Barr doubles down on claim Trump campaign was spied on after IG report says FBI probe was justified. Now, he most definitely was spied on. You know, you would have to be living in the Amazon rainforest to not know that, really. I think it's complete, unless you're just listening to the mainstream media and not taking in anything else, then maybe okay. But after looking at the evidence, there's no way someone can come to the conclusion that he was not spied on. You know, surveillance. He was under surveillance. Hello, that's spying. Okay, so Mark Meadows responded to this and said the FBI went through emails, wired up and recorded conversations, embedded a defensive briefing to investigate Michael Flynn, kept renewing FISAs with info they knew was false. They absolutely spied. Barr is 100% correct. Absolutely he is. No question about that. And, okay, well, that's something entirely different. And let's, okay. Don't want to leave anything out. Okay, let's listen to this.
Crime he didn't commit. The time Democrats get caught trying to frame this president with some crime he didn't commit, they follow up by accusing him of obstructing their efforts to frame him for the things that he never did in the first place. I'd like to say you can't make this stuff up, but it is all made up. I gotta concede, though, to my colleagues, y'all move fast. The day after we watched the Russian conspiracy and obstruction of justice claims from the special counsel go down like the Hindenburg, the next frame job started with a phone call where the only two people on the call both said it was a great call and none of the things that the Democrats alleged happened. But I'll admit, this time, it's hard to blame some of my colleagues on this committee for doing too much this time around. I concede that because the once respected House Judiciary Committee with jurisdiction over the Constitution and impeachment was humiliatingly excluded until the bitter end from participating at all in matters involving the Constitution and impeachment. 1 week. History will reflect that the House Judiciary Committee's involvement in the impeachment of President Donald J. Trump started with a hearing on Wednesday, December 4th, and ended with a markup that started 7 days later on Wednesday, December 11th. How does that sound for fairness? How does that sound for due process? The founders warned and feared that today might come. Alexander Hamilton said the greatest danger of impeachment would be depriving a president of due process. The greatest danger, Hamilton said, would be if impeachment was used politically by a party that had the most votes in the House, instead of being used on the basis of guilt or innocence for specified crimes under the Constitution. And today, the Committee of Jurisdiction, after only 1 week, is marking up a bill to impeach a president for crimes that aren't specified under the Constitution by the party that has the most votes in the House and pledged to impeach him from the first day of his presidency. Today's Democrats are the founders' worst nightmare come true. Right now, I imagine most Americans are thinking, if only we could impeach them. To those Americans, I say, you can't.
Gentlemen's time is expired.
Well spoken, very well spoken, and so true. Now, we are getting really short of time, so I am going to leave whatever that I have not covered, and we will cover that in the next video. I am sorry that I didn't get to do 2 videos today, but it's been you know, it's taken a lot of work to be watching all this stuff that's been going on today and everything. So anyway, I do want to thank the following people. Coffee donors, Grandma Patriot. I love that name. Thank you, Grandma Patriot. Anon and Dan. Thank you so very much. And Jenny Manchester. She's been a long time listener. We didn't have any new Patreon subscribers, but that's all right. I did have some snail mail. Now, I got 2 things in the mail at separate times from a Chris S. in Virginia. Now, what did Chris S. send me? Well, he sent me a wonderful, this is like a gaming mouse. So, you know, I won't be making all those little tapping sounds all the time. And the only problem with that was I only have 2 out, like USB things. So I just bought a extension today for my USB. It's like a little USB hub, so I can have more. And so I will be able to use this. So I'm going to be practicing with it because I haven't used a mouse in years. Which is... Anyway, so he sent me that, and he sent me this, which I didn't use tonight, but I have used. It's awesome. It's like a, you know, like a little, I've got it upside down. It's a laptop. You kind of put it on your lap so you have a flat surface to work on and like put your laptop on, and it's awesome. I have used this. However, to use it at this desk, it puts me like, I need a little booster seat. It's embarrassing, but yeah. I put a pillow under me, but really I'm still short. So anyway, I will be using that mouse hopefully in the next couple days. I'm going to plug in that little USB port and try it out and make sure that I can use it so I'm not like fumbling around while I'm on air, because that's, you know, embarrassing. All right. And so thank you so much, Chris, for those 2 things. That was incredibly sweet of you, incredibly. And this came in a huge box, this one. I was like, what on earth did somebody send me? But I was delighted, and thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. And M. Neal from Alberta, yes, I got your little note there, and we could probably work that out. She is from Alberta, but is going to be in this area. Wondered if I would go to coffee, you know, out for coffee with her or whatever to meet. And I think that that's a wonderful idea. I'd love to. I wish I could meet more of my listeners. So anyway, and also Dan, before I forget, what had Dan asked me? Oh, yeah, about, yes, I am uploading everything to BitChute. So if it's here on YouTube, it'll be on BitChute. However, some of my older stuff hasn't been transferred over yet. I need to contact them and ask them because the tool that they have is not working. So not for me anyway. So anyway, yes, everything will be backed up to BitChute so that you will be able to view me wherever you wish until such a time as, and I hope it never arrives, that they decide that, you know, my kind is not welcome at YouTube anymore. All right. So thank you guys, you guys that donate. It means everything. It helps me to do what I do because it helps to compensate somewhat, not entirely, but somewhat for the time that I put into doing this, because it takes time from doing other freelance work that could be providing income. So anyway, that is it. Well, I guess Xander decided to visit, so and he's up in the window. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate all the comments that you leave and the encouragement and everything. You guys are the bomb diggiest. So thank you, and stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and, you know, keep seeking truth. Now go out there and see that moon. It's going to be 6 minutes from now. 6 minutes and I don't know how many seconds. Yeah. All right. Good night, guys. Keep seeking truth.